Hey everyone, welcome to 1 Hour a Day, the channel where I spend just 1 hour each day learning a difficult skill. I'm Justin, and this is the finale to learning to play chess blindfolded. After 38 days, 38 hours, I've gone from being a complete beginner to being able to play games in my head whenever I want, being able to beat computers while blindfolded, and even being able to play competitively against other players. It sounds weird to me to even say this, but my visualization in other aspects has improved as well, and I find when I'm contemplating difficult problems, it's increasingly through visualization, which is just crazy to me. You'll see all of this coming up shortly, but for now, let's just do a quick recap of the last 38 days. Each day, I spent my 1 hour trying to get the most out of learning. Like I said in a previous video this series, working through deliberate practice, where your focus is on improving, is essential to learning quickly. Now, of course, there were times when I was tired and my mind drifted off and I was just sitting there daydreaming. But most of the time, I try to make sure that I was focusing on the areas that I was struggling with to make sure I was improving as fast as I could. I hit milestones throughout my progression, which encouraged me to keep moving forward, but I also hit setbacks that challenged me and made the journey more difficult. And honestly, if it was all just easy, I don't even think that this end result would be rewarding or fun to get to. Now, on to the last week of learning, where I focused on playing blindfolded against computers to get real game practice. Well, as real as you can get against computers. I found a chess site that has a blindfold chess mode where it just shows you an empty board and then you type in your move on the keyboard. So QE5 would move your queen to E5, and it uses your computer speaker to say the opponent's moves. And when I found out about this, I switched from playing the games in my head against myself to playing against a computer using this site. So the computer had 10 levels, and I started off on level 2 because, what can I say, I was too confident for level 1. And on my first day with this method, I beat the level 2 computer very easily. And I was really surprised and happy. I mean, this was the first game that I had won against somebody that wasn't myself in my head. So then the next day, I tried level 3, and I beat that one too. It was harder, but I still did it. And then the next 3 days, I tried level 4, and it was much more challenging, and it was really a difficult game. Well, each of them were. But the problem was, I would get halfway through, and then the game was a sort of just crash, where I couldn't type in my moves anymore. I could click on the empty squares where they should have been and drag them to where I wanted them to go, and that would work, but after I would try to type in the move so many times and it wouldn't work, I really lost focus, and it was a lot harder to keep track of everything, right? Because obviously you have to stay super focused when you're trying to remember where all of these potentially 32 pieces are. And so I just ended up forgetting all the positions of the pieces, and I sort of just, quit that game after that because I just couldn't remember where anything was. And so after the third day of trying that and having it crash for 3 days, I switched back to the games in my head. And I did play against the level 4 computer normally when I wasn't blindfolded just to see, and I actually lost, so it seems like I had pushed my skill level while blindfolded to just about my regular level of play. And like I mentioned in week 4, I had started to focus much more on the ends of the games, since that was the last area I had left that was still giving me trouble. And it wasn't until after multiple days of focusing on this that I realized why. And it wasn't even during blindfolded practice that I realized it either. I was playing through a regular game on my phone, and I was really beating my opponent. It was late in the game, and I was in a position to checkmate with my large advantage of pieces compared to the few that they had left. And even with this large material advantage, I was playing move after move, and I was failing to find the pattern of movements that would lead to a checkmate. And that's when I realized that my difficulty of finding good moves late in the game while blindfolded wasn't some mystery or failure of my visualization. It was simply just that I don't have enough experience in finding those checkmating patterns later in the game. And to expect to be better at this fundamentally difficult aspect of chess while I'm not looking is pretty naive and honestly just overly optimistic. So after all of this practice, I took my last 10 games I had played online, not blindfolded or anything, just regular games against random opponents, and I ran it through an analysis to see how many mistakes I made on average per game. So 5 of these were wins and 5 of them were losses, so it worked out well. And for the games that I won, I made on average 2 mistakes and just over 2 blunders. And for the games I had lost, I made around 3.5 mistakes and 3 blunders per game, which makes sense, right? If I played worse, then I would tend to lose. So that's probably why, the games I had lost, my stats were worse. So after all this analysis, and especially all the practice I had been doing, I was feeling more confident in my abilities and I was ready for a rematch. So I called up my cousin Matthew and I was more ready than ever. So check it out. I'll play e4.
Nope, you're not allowed.
Okay, I'll play e4 then.
Okay, bishop b4.
Alright, I'll just play pawn to f3.
Queen captures queen.
Oh.
Knight captures pawn at e4.
I knew that was coming sooner or later.
Alright, well, I hate you.
Well, I mean, that was like the only logical move.
King takes bishop.
On which square?
You know it's correct. Your only bishop is gone now, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay. King to d1.
Yes, yes. I could have made that move for you.
Why? Why'd you have to say it in an accent too?
Pawn to h1. It will be promoted to a rook.
Oh, okay. Good game. So after the game against Matthew, I ran it through the site's analysis software to check out the mistakes and blunders I made. And I made 1 mistake and 2 blunders, which is a whole 2.5 mistakes and 1 blunder less than normal for games that I lose. So theoretically, I played better blindfolded than I do normally. And obviously, you can't come to that conclusion just off of that, shallow data analysis. But at least it shows that the level of play I have blindfolded is close, it's similar to my play normally, which is just crazy. And just for comparison, Matthew made 0 mistakes and 1 blunder, and 23 of his 32 moves were considered the best possible move. So he played phenomenally. It was really hard, it was a tough match, but it went reasonably well considering I was blindfolded and he played so well. So I was mentally exhausted after that game, right? It was just an hour straight of intense focus. And for whatever reason, Matthew was talking in a British accent he said he was trying to distract me, which obviously didn't help, but I had to stay energized because just 3 hours later I had my game against Christie. And he had told me that he was even better than the last time we played by a good margin. So I really had to stay focused if I wanted to even stand a chance. Alright, I'll play e4.
And I'll play e5.
Okay, I'll play knight f3.
Knight e5.
Oh, I was not ready for that.
I thought I'd mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
So test your...
I'll castle queenside.
Oh, castle kingside. You actually played really well, like, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, thank you.
I'll play queen to c7.
Yeah.
It's a really complicated position.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to find like a move that advances much. Maybe an unorthodox play, I'm not sure, but some rook to e4 action. No, wait, sorry, my pawn's on e4. All right. Right. I got ahead of myself. I'm gonna advance the pawn first, so I'll play. E5. I'm just gonna roll with it.
I'll just play takes on e5.
Okay.
Like, pawn takes on e5.
Yeah. See, I'm like, I feel like at my level, like, pawns are like so, like, you can just sacrifice pawns left and right and it doesn't influence anything. I'm gonna play rook to h4. It's a strong 600 elo attack right here.
And I'll just play h6.
Okay.
I'll play queen takes on c3.
I'll play queen takes h6.
Queen takes rook on e1.
Queen takes g7?
You're in check.
Oh, right. Oh, I got ahead of myself here. I got so excited. Okay.
I could hear the excitement in your voice.
Yeah. I like almost couldn't believe it. Okay, you're right. You took my rook. I'm definitely in check. Sorry, okay, you took E1. I was almost just not even listening. I was like, okay,
Rook B to B7.
no, no.
I'm sorry. I kind of saw that.
Queen to H8. Okay, I'm gonna move my rook to E4. Yeah, let's okay, I'll resign because there's quite literally no chance of winning.
Yeah.
But
Magnus Carlsen, like, I don't know. I'd probably win this game against
Magnus Carlsen, yeah, honestly,
anybody. Like, everybody can win this game against anybody.
yeah. Most people don't try new things because they're afraid of failure, and you have to switch how you view failure, not as a reason for why you can't or shouldn't do something, but just as a necessary and important part of learning something new, anything new. During this challenge, I failed constantly, over and over again. I was making mistakes every single day, and it wasn't until 3 or 4 weeks into this challenge that I had my first successful day, right? Think about that. That's almost a month straight of failing, just day after day, before succeeding once. But because of those failures, I'm now able to play blindfolded against other players, beat computers while blindfolded, and play games in my head whenever I feel like it, right? So it's pretty cool. It took me 38 hours to get to this point, just over a month of spending 1 hour each day on it. And I mean, we all have an hour each day, right? The average person spends something like 3 to 4 hours a day on their phone. I know I'm one of them. And you know, what's that one thing that you've been wanting to learn? Maybe it's a new language or skill, or just something for fun that you thought maybe you don't have the time or the energy, or that you're not smart enough to learn it. Like, come on, think about that. If there's one thing and one thing only that you've gotten out of this series or this video, I want it to be that you are capable of learning whatever you want to. All it takes is 1 hour a day. So that's it for blindfold chess. I'm probably still going to play it again for fun occasionally, but I'm going to be moving on to a new topic now, and that video will be out within a week of this one. So I'll be really looking forward to that, and I hope you are as well. And I just want to thank you all so much for being so supportive during this series, and I really look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And until then, later.